Hey everyone. Well, it's been just over a month now since I finally announced what I do for work. I know this was a long-awaited announcement for many people, and I figured after 4 years of making videos for everyone that it was time to let you all know what I do for work and remove the mystery of that. I want to say a really big thank you to all the people that left kind and supportive comments for the job I do, and it was nice to read all those comments and get messages. This was on YouTube, Facebook, and through my website. As I mentioned in the 4-year anniversary video, I've been with the RCMP now for nearly 15 years, and I've been with the forensics section, which is a specialty within the RCMP, for nearly 8 years. Actually, next month will be 8 years. And what did I do for the 7 years before that? You might be wondering. Well, forensics is very cool. I love the job. It's very interesting. It's challenging. And I'm probably going to stick with it for the remainder of my career. But there was one other job I did with the RCMP prior to forensics. And it's a documentary that I'm going to show you. I didn't make this documentary. It's just showing you the section that I used to work in. If I wasn't staying in forensics, or if I didn't go into forensics, I probably would have stayed with that other section that you're going to see in a minute for the rest of my career as well. So it was like, well, you can't do both. Sometimes you have to pick one. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy it. There is a marine angle, and it just gives you a little more insight to what I've done in the past, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
West Coast Marine Detachment is a supplement to our organization.
Okay, Roger, and do you have any firearms on board?
The president of the RCMP is greatly needed.
You realize that alcohol in pregnancy is a very, very bad thing for your baby? You have to gain people's trust before they trust you.
Hello, sir. Enjoying the winter?
Yeah, those guys are not nice.
We are so well known on the coast that most of the public in the small communities we visit know us by name.
Canada's northwest coast is awe-inspiring. Communities here are surrounded by mountains, forests, and unique coastlines. It's stunning, but very isolated. RCMP detachments are scattered along the coast, but with hundreds of islands and inlets to police, it's extremely challenging.
Just from the geographic nature of where we have to patrol and what we have to do, we can't be in each village all the time. So West Coast Marine Detachment supplements that. Without them, I'm not sure how we could successfully do that.
The RCMP has a Marine unit to help out land-based detachments. They're called the West Coast Marine Service. They provide a police presence to the really remote places.
Our area is absolutely massive. I got friends on the prairies who have to go 2 hours to drive to a call. And here we can go 2 days to drive to a call.
For the Marine officers, the variety of police work is what thrills them. It's more than just frontline policing with a life jacket. Their range of responsibilities is as massive as the landscape they police.
Where most of Canada, police officers are specific to certain areas, and but we wear all the hats that they can possibly think of. I think we work with customs, fisheries, forestry, Coast Guard, you name it. We're out there.
They know to expect the unexpected.
I'll put it this way, I've been in the Marine section for almost 9 years, and I can't say I've had one week that's been the same as another.
They make it their mission to get to know the people who call the coast home. They need to. They're often the only lifeline for anyone in trouble on the water.
It makes you more approachable so that when there is a crisis, people approach you and give you all the information you need, give you all the assistance you need. Because without that, you have nothing really.
These Marine officers start their shift.
This is home.
For 7 days, this will be their home, police cruiser, and mobile detachment. They call it the Inkster. There are 4 vessels like it patrolling the West Coast, and all are commissioner-class vessels, named after former RCMP commissioners. But the Inkster is the biggest and covers the largest area. It's considered the Cadillac of the RCMP's Marine fleet. Blake is the skipper on board and leader of the team. He has 9 years of Marine service under his belt and is a familiar face along the coast. Carl is the engineer on board and has only been with the Marine unit for 2 years. But at 6'2", he's becoming a recognizable face among the locals. Alfie is the new guy. He's only been with the Inkster for 9 months, but he's quickly learning the ropes. And it's a lot to learn.
It's quite a different job. You have to learn a lot of other things other than policing.
It's a multitask environment. You have to be a little bit of a mechanic, a cook, a cleaner, you do it all, whatever it takes.
The guys work, eat, and sleep on board for an entire week.
Blake makes the best on this.
They spend every minute together and in very close quarters. They've learned that to survive, you need a sense of humor.
It gets 5 feet smaller every day. That's sort of in reference to your personal space.
Yeah, being able to put up with a little crap along the way is essential.
They spend more time with each other than with their own families.
The crews on board the vessels have to become a very strong, unified unit in order to be safe out there. We have no one else to count upon other than our crew. We're very much a family.
The team's first stop is 6 hours away. They maximize their time and train continuously along the way. This is the nature of policing along the remote coast. The RCMP's Marine Unit patrols the waters off the northwest coast of BC. After 6 hours of sailing, they arrive in Ocean Falls for the night. Although the population is only 37, every community, no matter how small, needs a police presence. Without it, these remote areas are vulnerable to organized crime. The crew relies on the locals. They are their eyes and ears when they're not around.
It's just such a large coast in BC here that we just can't cover it all with the resources that we have. We need the people's help to be able to see what goes on out there.
The team regularly pops in and out of these isolated communities.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Building relationships is the most important part of their job.
Yeah, I'm Julie.
Hi, Julie. Carl.
Carl, nice to meet you. I'm not sure.
It's the key to remote policing.
They do get to know you. You're all on first name basis, and we're a welcome sight for people that are living on their own on the coast.
Ocean Falls is typically pretty quiet, so Alfie and Carl decide to check out the rundown hotel.
Here's the old kitchen. It gets better as we go up.
It's a special stop for Alfie. His parents met here 40 years
I
ago.
wouldn't walk around too much here though, Alfie.
It's hard to imagine. It's like, a bustling community with people coming and going, and my mom was working here. And then they
Well, let's have to go back and tell you that.
Yeah.
They met you were in the cafe, they parents met. That's pretty cool.
The team is back at the office. They're looking into a suspicious U.S. license plate in town.
I have the person's name who's in possession of it.
They learn it wasn't cleared through customs or legally registered in Canada.
Firearms prohibitions. Okay, good much, Frank.
Blake decides to pay the owner a visit and get his side of the story.
The guy we're dealing with has been involved with some marijuana grow operations in the past. He has a bit of a history with a bit of violence, so potentially there's always something there, but I don't expect anything at this point. TV's on. You're not finding any papers? The big problem here is the fact that that's an American vehicle.
After digging a little deeper, the officers are satisfied.
Thanks, Nick.
He's cooperative, and the issue has been resolved. They call it a night and head back to the Inkster. But along the way, a suspicious smell leads them behind a hotel.
What's your name?
They walk in on a group smoking marijuana.
Along the coast, nobody knows when we're going to come around the corner. So, therefore, you probably take away the opportunity quite often.
The offenders are caught off guard. It's not very often people see police officers in Ocean Falls. It gives the Inkster crew an advantage, the element of surprise. The crew spends a lot of time in transit. They visit fishing lodges and check in on the welfare of their caretakers. These guys are alone all winter, and they go months between seeing friendly faces. Day and night, the crew covers a lot of ground
It's the police.
and follow up on files for the land-based detachments.
I, the undersigned, having no desire to claim the following items.
They approach everyone with kindness and respect
Okay, on to the next place.
Well, he was certainly nice enough.
Yeah.
and hope to be received the same way.
There we go. It's very important in my mind that we get out to these people in these small remote areas and get to know them and make the contacts with them so that they do know and feel comfortable about making a complaint or calling someone up to say that, hey, this is what they've seen on the coast.
Klemtu is one of their frequent stops. It's nestled on an island in BC's central coast. It's a beautiful and proud community, but it's plagued by drug and alcohol abuse. And the closest RCMP detachment is 2 hours away by boat. The Marine officers prepare for another busy day. They've been honored with an invitation to take part in a community justice forum. In this case, a young woman is caught smuggling and selling alcohol. Alcohol is like poison in this little community. It's at the root of a lot of their social problems.
Try and make this place a happy place to live. But right now, the way I view it, drugs and alcohol is almost taking over the village. Everybody's taking a crack at selling the bad stuff. I don't want it. I don't like it.
Typically, smuggling is a criminal offense, but this group's goal is to resolve the situation without criminal justice. For this to happen, it has to be a first-time offense and a minor crime. It gives the person a second chance.
We want you to go to a correctional institute somewhere to get some help. We want you to go. The same bunch of people that's around your table today will help you. We want you to go out and get treatment.
It's the first time these Mounties have received such an invitation in Klemtu. It's a huge step.
I has really shown me that this community understands how this problem affects them as a whole.
It means they have earned the people's trust and respect.
I've got to say, on behalf of my crew here, that we're pretty emotional to see the passion in this community towards this issue.
I thank the members of the RCMP that are present today to help us to come to some kind of solution to correct and stop the flow of drugs and alcohol that is flowing into my little community.
Understanding the culture is huge. I mean, you have to interact with people and you have to understand them to gain their trust. That's what it's all about. You have to earn it, essentially. And the more you know about a certain culture, the better it is.
For the Inkster crew, being there is rewarding.
That was a pretty powerful time there to see the community that concerned about the alcohol issues that are coming into the community there, and to see the response that they're wanting to see from us, that they really want the RCMP in that community to help out in their issues, and I feel it's important that we are there to help them out.
Between Washington and Alaska are busy, especially in the spring. The traffic makes it easier for criminals to blend in. Blake and the Inkster crew are sailing a familiar route, Prince Rupert down to Klemtu. This time, Constable Chris McMillan is the new guy in training. He comes from a Navy background and is used to the spontaneity of working on the water.
Generally, what you plan to do in 7 days never occurs because there's always a wild card thrown in. And that's neat. The time flies by. There's always a challenge. There's always something different happening.
Their efforts in getting to know people are finally paying off. Today, they learn that someone is planning on smuggling booze into Klemtu on the afternoon flight.
Sometimes in the big picture, that is not a major crime in other places in Canada, but to these communities, it becomes pretty major for them. It really upsets their community.
They keep their promise to Archie and the community and do what they can to keep it drug and alcohol free. The Mounties want to intercept the illegal alcohol before it reaches the buyer. Carl and Chris go to the dock to meet the smuggler. They know exactly who they're looking for, by name. Sure enough, they find the illegal alcohol. It's limited in many of these small communities, and for good reason. The negative effects of alcohol abuse in remote communities is well documented.
1.5 liters is the maximum for a week. So, and you realize if you're in excess of that the whole thing can be seized, right?
But for some, the money this contraband brings in is just too tempting. Each of these bottles has a resale value of up to $400. But it's the victims of abuse that ultimately pay the price. The Marine officers run boat checks while traveling. They're looking for signs of illegal activity. The waterways are hotbeds for all kinds of crime, weapons and human smuggling, drug operations, and organized crime.
Hi there. My name is Carl. Bob. Nice to meet you. Just the two of you guys on board?
That's right.
In this area, customs runs on the honor system.
Roger, Inkster back to 1-6.
They are always careful when approaching the strange vessel. There's a lot of international traffic, and most people carry guns.
Any other firearms?
Challenge officer safety, I would say, would be boarding vessels of foreign nationalities and not knowing anything about them, because as soon as you come over the stern or you come over the side of the vessel, you have no idea what's going to happen, what they have on board for weapons, what their intent is.
The boats that we're checking are a lot of commercial fishing vessels, and they use knives, axes, gas, harpoons, all that kind of stuff to deal with the fishing industry that they're working with.
Blake keeps a close eye on them. Approaching the unknown is dangerous for police officers. A situation always has the potential to turn sour. And the guys only have each other to rely on.
We have to work very much as a group, and we're always looking out for each other. So it's very important that we do that. Like I said, we don't have anybody there that's going to back us up.
As evening falls, the crew of the Inkster sails back to Klemtu. They've received a tip that several smugglers are coming in on one ferry. They know that if too much alcohol gets through, they will spend the night answering assault and disturbance calls. So they wait and hope to keep trouble out of the village for another day.
Margaret and Barbie.
The RCMP's West Coast Marine Unit is following up on a valuable tip. They've learned that smugglers are coming in on the morning ferry. They scan the passengers as the ferry unloads, but not one person on their list gets off. Word got out that the Inkster crew would be there waiting, so the smugglers got off at another stop.
They'll come back to Kitasoo today or tomorrow by plane or by boat, and we'll check them when they get here. And we'll ensure that we enforce the Kitasoo and Tuxpan bylaws the band and chief and council have asked us to do.
The crew considers it a success. Their hard work and persistence has paid off. Prevention is hard to measure, but their presence is a deterrent.
For every crime to be committed, there has to be a suspect, there has to be a victim, and there has to be opportunity, and the one that we can always intervene in is the opportunities.
After 7 long days and nights, the crew finally sails home to Prince Rupert. They race to get their paperwork done and get excited to spend a week off with their families.
It's work, work, work while you're going, but time flies and you sure enjoy your time off.
For Carl and Chris, their adventures on board the Inkster have just begun. And both hope to one day hold the title of skipper.
So I'd love to be a skipper. I joined the marine section with a bunch of sea time already. A couple more years on the water, getting comfortable again, and then we'll see where it takes us.
I am looking forward to that, actually, and I hope before I reach retirement age, I can actually accomplish that.
Blake's time on the water is almost at an end.
Hey, you guys carry on and have a safe voyage.
Recently promoted to sergeant, he's now in charge of the West Coast Marine Service's Northern Office. All are continuously dedicated to the challenges of policing such a remote and unforgettable area.
I am going to make sure that I keep in contact with the people I've met along the coast and do my best to make sure that we provide the service that needs to be done on the North Coast.